Alright, so chapter 1 we talked about the Hermetic philosophy, and that was pretty much the history of what's going on with this Kybalion. Chapter 2, we listed all 7 of the Hermetic principles and briefly went into what each one of those means. Chapter 3 is called Mental Transmutation. And honestly, this is not just a space filler. This is probably the most important tool that the book has to offer. Reason being is mental transmutation is kind of the central web that connects all the 7 Hermetic principles. It's like the head of the octopus with the 7 legs grasping each one of the different principles. So yeah, the book says that mental transmutation is a master key of the 7 Hermetic principles, right? It says that it is extremely important, and here's why. Mental transmutation is the activator of the 7 Hermetic principles. Each one of the principles lays out a framework for how to handle energy, but mental transmutation is literally how you handle the energy. So let's get into it. The word transmute means to change from one nature, form, or substance into another, to transform. That's the Webster's Dictionary definition. Mental transmutation means the art of changing and transforming mental states, forms, and conditions into others, right? So here's the key. The main statement of the Kybalion is the universe is mental. So mental transmutation is the conversion of the properties of the universe, the conversion of one element into another. So when you talk about the ancient practice of alchemy, when people talked about transmutation, they're usually referring to turning lead into gold and this metal into that metal. And since we're so physical based and so material based, many people are going after alchemy and thinking that it's going to be a get rich quick scheme. But it's all symbolic. Everything spiritual, up until recent days, has been hidden in plain sight. See, a lot of people don't have results because they take these things literally. Okay, it's not literal. It's meant to be symbolic. Because everything on the right brain, everything in the creative brain, everything in the magical brain is symbolic. If you notice, you can't really get a clear definition of what the Eye of Horus means. You see what I'm saying? You can't really get a clear definition of what the magical element of air, fire, water, or earth means. There's a bunch of different correspondences, law of correspondence. When you really look into these things and you do research, for example, the book 777 is a book full of correspondences. It'll show you one magical symbol and give you a bunch of definitions for it. Just like with the Goetia, when you look at these Goetic spirits, there's not one power that they have. Every book that you look at that's worth its salt will tell you that every Goetic spirit has like 3 or 4 different things it can be used for. Reason being is everything spiritual, magical, and occult is symbolic. See, symbology is the language of the subconscious mind. With the conscious mind and with the literal, logical mind, everything is data, raw data. Okay, so everything that you can pull in with your 5 senses, your sight, your smell, your touch, your taste, your hearing, these things have finite definition. And a lot of people depend on that finite definition to define their world because they don't trust anything else. But the simple fact that you are in this group and in this course means that you not only trust what's going on the right side of your brain, but you also understand that there's more to life than just what's going on by those 5 senses. Okay, so when it comes to the spiritual side, everything on the occult side is symbolic. It's not literal. That's why a lot of people misunderstand the Bible, because they're taking it literally. Everything is symbolic. So when we get to mental transmutation, what we're understanding is that we're taking one concept and we're changing it into another. So when we talk about alchemy, like what we were saying to, how we got to this tangent, when they talk about turning lead into gold, they're talking about the whole process of developing a soul, basically. Transforming you from an animal to a god. And how do you do that? You learn to step away from just relying on your 5 senses, and you're learning to develop your higher faculties, the higher 5 senses, right? For sight, you've got clairvoyance. For hearing, you've got clairaudience, and so on. These spiritual senses, this is how we develop them, by leaning on the right brain. So, back to mental transmutation. The whole thing is, a lot of these principles in the Kybalion pretty much talk about the fluctuation between 2 points. For example, the law of polarity, it's pretty much how opposites are the same thing. When you talk about good and evil, we see where they terminate, but we don't see where they begin or end. Where in this pole does good become evil? It's all perspective. When you have the water and you turn it on to wash the dishes or to take a shower, it's a very fine line before it starts getting from cold to hot. It's a gradient, but it's all temperature. It's all temperature. Now your five senses are going to detect what it thinks that it is, but in truth, it's so gradual and so fine. It's like color. If you've ever worked with a photo editing program like Photoshop or anything like that, there's millions of colors to choose from. It's all a gradation. It all blends into each other, because that's what this reality is. It's all vibration. It's all vibrations that blend into each other. So when we talk about the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, how working with the energy of abundance, you want to work with blue or green because they correspond with Jupiter or Venus. Why is that? Because Venus symbolizes beauty and fullness of earth and nature, right? The color green corresponds with that. Blue corresponds with wealth, right? Jupiter. These are symbols that correspond with other symbols. There's not a clear-cut definition. They're all just symbols. So when you're approaching this magical art, you got to understand that you're not coming at it with a logical mind. You're coming at it with a symbolical mind. And this is how you can interpret your dreams, right? This is how you read the tarot cards. This is how you communicate with spirits. This is how you communicate with your subconscious mind. It's all symbolic. The subconscious mind is impacted by 3 things: repetition, symbols, and trauma. All right? So if you repetitively tell yourself a certain thing, it's going to seep into the subconscious mind. If you keep symbols around you everywhere, it's going to communicate to your subconscious mind. It's going to bypass the logical mind and communicate to the subconscious mind. So, to stick to the topic of mental transmutation, because this all does relate, to stick to the topic of mental transmutation, to really activate this principle in your daily life, understand that your body comes pre-programmed to have emotions. Emotions are not the enemy, and your egos are not the enemy. Whenever you have something happen to you, it's going to trigger an emotional response. Now, emotions are energy. It's spiritual energy. And instead of letting it overtake you and make you do things, learn how to master your emotions and use them to energize and fuel your symbols, your magic, your work. All right? So using mental transmutation, what you would do is, when you are performing a ritual or performing magic for yourself or anything of that nature, you want to work up the emotion. And you want to transmute the energy of that emotion towards your ritual, towards your purpose, towards your goal. Mental transmutation is the art of purposely changing your moods and your thought process. It's purposely doing this to get a desired result. And this is a huge key when it comes to magic in general. It's a huge key dealing with the 7 Hermetic principles in general. This is how you work the law of polarity. This is how you work the principle of rhythm. Right? This is how you flow between the principle of vibration with gender. And here's another thing. When you look at the very first paragraph in this chapter, it gives away a big secret. And let's see, chapter 3. Mental transmutation. The beginning of it goes, mind, as well as metals and elements, may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. The true Hermetic transmutation is a mental art. So what is the big secret that it's given away here? It's literally telling you that the mind may be changed, right? And all these things that it lists are the 7 Hermetic principles. So pretty much when it says mind may be transmuted, that's the principle of mentalism. When it says from state to state, that's the principle of correspondence. When it says from degree to degree, that's the principle of rhythm. When it says from condition to condition, that's the principle of cause and effect. When it says from pole to pole, clearly that's polarity. And when it says from vibration to vibration, that's the principle of vibration. Only one it doesn't list is gender. But as we see today from science and our social world, you can now transmute your gender from one to the other. But anyways, what it's saying is that in between each one of these 7 Hermetic principles, your job is to transmute between the 2. Because it says in this book, everyone is subject to these laws, but the way that you surpass the laws is by using one against the other. So by the end of this book, we're going to understand how to use each one of these laws to benefit ourselves and to do it on a consistent basis. But just to wrap it all up, mental transmutation is the master key to using these 7 Hermetic principles. That's why it's chapter 3. Know that you can use your emotions. You can transmute your emotions to energize and fuel your rituals, your magic, your intentions. You can use the mental transmutation to change your thoughts. If you feel that you are plagued with depression or anger issues or things of that nature, understand that you can change that. You can change that. It takes willpower. It takes intention. You got to do it on purpose. It's not going to just happen. You can do this through repetition. You can do this through symbolism. Now, I do have videos on my YouTube channel that do go into this. Matter of fact, I'm going to link them below. I do have a video explicitly on mental transmutation, so you can watch that video for more of a technique on how to use it. And then I've got 2 other videos to date that deal with changing your thought process and your trauma and pretty much healing yourself. So you can find those 3 videos below, and I've also got a PDF that covers a lot of what was mentioned in this video. This is a powerful chapter, so read it, meditate on it, and understand that mental transmutation is how you use the 7 Hermetic principles. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video where we talk about the All, one of my favorites.